It is said that whatever you do, you must do it with passion. I would like to believe that all of you are here because you're passionate about what you're currently doing. If you're not passionate, you'll tend to be mediocre with whatever you do. As I said, my name is Robert Yawe. I'm a project creator. I basically create projects that you people will want to provide services to. I'd like to ask you a question first. Do you feel that having passed, when you finally finish college, that you actually have an entitlement to employment? Or do you believe that you're supposed to go out there and create employment? That's a dilemma we want to discuss today with you on these issues. Now, if you believe you're entitled to have a job, who do you believe is supposed to give you that job? The government? The regionals of this world? The Omondis of this world? And what makes you believe that entitlement is actually yours and not anybody else's? I'll start off by giving you an example of two professionals who've passed through this department many years ago. One of them was a civil engineer, went by the name of Engineer Widi. Some of you might know him. He was once a member of parliament. And I remember sitting down with Engineer Widi about 10 years ago. And he was telling me about when he graduated from the university in the late 70s. He already had three job appointments. One from the Ministry of Public Works, one from the City Council, and one from a private engineering firm. So as Owidi walked out of the university after graduation, he had a choice of three different jobs. He started off at the City Council. He worked for a short while. He then moved to Molem. He then moved to the Ministry of Public Works, during which time he was able to get his registration as an engineer. 3 months after being registered as an engineer, Owidi went to the post office and he found a letter. He had just been appointed the resident engineer for a project to build Afya Center. Those of you who know Globe Cinema, there's an Afya Center building. He never applied. He didn't even know where the project was. All he got was a letter that he has been appointed as the consulting engineer for the project. I met Owidi as he was doing a project for me. Together with Owidi was an architect called George Amgahia. They graduated around the same time. And even George, as he left the ADD block for the last time, had three job options. So he walked to Symbion Architects, where he worked for a short while. He then moved to a company called Nyaseme, which was a company that did NSSF, for those of you who keep abreast. Today, George runs a one-man practice. He has 2 employees, one trainee architect and a receptionist. These 2 people tell you about what happens when you have an entitlement. In the 70s, those of you who can go home and ask your parents, the A-level results used to be printed in the newspaper because there were that few number of people. The number of graduates from the university were even fewer. In George Amgahia's class, there were 5 doing architecture. Those who graduated were only 5. And you'll get to wonder, why is it that they had such great opportunities, but yet they did never get to a position where they would be able to create an opportunity for you people to join their practices? Owidi passed away a few years ago. He didn't leave behind an engineering practice. His practice consisted of 3 people: me, myself, and I. Those were the 3 partners in his practice. So when Owidi went, so did his practice. So many of you are sitting here and wondering, where will you get work when you leave? As professionals, it is essential that you start looking at the business side of where you fit in. How many of you have been down to the construction site somewhere near Museum Hill? I believe it's actually within the university grounds. How many of you have been there? None, eh? So where do you think your jobs are coming from? Who knows who is doing the project there or even what's going on? Anyone? Show of hands. You have to tell me none of you here who are involved in the built environment are interested in knowing what is happening that concerns construction. You know?
I don't know. I tried knowing what it is about. So a closed circuit, you're not allowed to bring down people inside. So is that what you do?
You could have talked to the dean to go and find out what's happening within your grounds. You've been known to cause pandemonium for much less. Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is, unless you get to understand where you fit into the built environment profession outside the borders of the university, then most of you shall be very frustrated the day you graduate, because you shall be struck so hard by the reality out there, you might never recover. There are many who have passed through, and if you know Aga Khan Walk in town, do you know what it's called? What's the nickname to Aga Khan Walk? Graduates' Corner, eh? Where people with engineering degrees, architecture degrees, land economics degrees sit and await for their entitlement to receive jobs from the government. How many of you know what the retirement age is now for the government? So which means what? If there's a fellow who is retiring this year, he'll retire when? In 5 years' time more, isn't it? So which means if you graduate this year, and that job was supposed to be yours, you'll have to wait how long? So what will you do for the 5 years while you're out there? Have you thought of the impact of some of these decisions? I'd like us to try an exercise. Let's close our eyes. Just close your eyes. Imagine you're Beckham. I'm sure most of you are football fans. You've had a beautiful career so far. It's a major tournament, but you're not starting in the first 11. There's a new, younger, more energetic, more effective player on the pitch. Open your eyes. You are that player who has got Beckham benched. What do you think is going through Beckham's mind? If he had a chance to get rid of you, what do you think he would do? Get rid of you or not? Most of you are going out into the industry. The day you get registered, you become direct competitors to Reginald and to Mundi. You have certain other advantages. You're younger, you're better skilled, and you're cheaper. Do you expect them to step aside and let you through? They're not going to. So many of you have to think about the challenge that you're going out into. You're going to face solid walls. Now, unless you arm yourself while you're here, unless you understand what your profession is like out there, I can assure you we shall discuss in 5 years' time, and most of you shall be totally disoriented, and the person you'll most likely blame will be the head of state. We need to be very careful about what's going to happen as you leave. I'd like to ask you, how much did you make last year from assignments? How many of you were paid for assignments last year? Was any of you paid to do a class assignment? You're sure? So nobody got paid for assignments. But if any of you got a small project to do today, what will you insist on? But you've done assignments for a whole year, no one has asked for pay. The architecture students will do major projects. I always make sure I pass by every year during the grading when you've put up your projects. And I see brilliant projects done. But the worst thing about it is those projects end here. You must learn to go out and give your time, initially for no pay. It is said you must love what you do and you must do what you love. It is unfortunate that many of you might have gotten here because you were A students. Not because you wanted to get into the built environment, but because you were A students, you did your mathematics, you did well in your physics, you arrived here and you qualified for certain courses. How many of you have actually found out what your careers will actually get you to? What is it that what you study is going to give you out there? How many? Now, this is, I hope you're just being shy. That you're going to go through a 4-year course, others will go through a 7-year course, but yet you don't know where you fit in. Who do you go looking for work from? The land economists, where would you go looking for work? The building economists, where do you go looking for work? Ministry of Works. Construction engineering. How many of you have worked in a construction site recently? As what?
As a
Storekeeper. Good. Somebody behind there? What do you do, workers? Let me tell you, I asked you how many of you are paid for assignments. None. During your long holiday, go and do an assignment of working at a construction site. Get to understand what the QS does, what a site engineer does, what a clerk of works does. I'd expect some of you to be looking for Reginald to get to understand what a property manager does. What does his day consist of? You need to get that now so that you don't get shocked when you walk out of here and you end up becoming the storeman at a construction site. Because the fellow who runs the store, the construction site might be me. And I don't understand what a building economist does. So to the best of my knowledge, he's supposed to know what stock sits in the construction site. Open your eyes. You're very fortunate. You're in Nairobi. You have opportunities. Imagine somebody doing the same course and sitting in Maseno. You've got a road going from Athi River to Thika. That's opportunity for all of you. I wish you could sit down and say you want to make weekly field trips. And if the university goes out and tells the contractor that he wants his students to come by the site every week, he's not going to refuse. Because it's essential that you get to understand what you do. Where are the students who do medicine right now? The final years in medicine, where are they? Kenyatta, eh? Where are the final years here? Where are the final years? They are here. Not in practice, not applying, but theorizing and hoping that when you leave, there'll be work out there. Learn to give your time for free at times. The same way you do your assignment is the same way you should go out and do that attachment project. Don't start asking for allowances. I'm told at the Polytechnic it has become so competitive, students actually pay to get attachment. They don't get paid to get attachment. I don't think you heard me. They pay to get attachment. You actually pay an employer to give you the attachment instead of somebody else. Because of two very serious reasons. One is, if you get that attachment, the opportunities of getting a job when you graduate with the same organization are much higher. Secondly, without the attachment, you don't graduate. That's how competitive it has become at Polytechnic level. So I'll finish off by asking you, you've heard of kazi kwa vijana, eh? How many know about kazi kwa vijana? How does it benefit professionals? Can you see yourselves fitting into the kazi kwa vijana scheme? Why? Let me get an answer. Why? Why do you think you don't fit into kazi kwa vijana? Or what does it entail? Fixing gravel roads, repairing culverts. But it's in that building. From this point, you have the opportunity to create employment for yourselves. How many of the land economists have tried to find out how economically the University of Nairobi uses its land? Seriously. Have you thought maybe if you did a research, you might find out that this land would be more valuable, used for something else, and you should be able to relocate the University of Nairobi to the outskirts? Why do you believe that it should be where it is? Kazi kwa vijana has a problem because the people making the decision don't understand what you people need. Have you heard of the Malili project? The Malili project. The technology park. How many of you have? Do you know how many acres it is? 5,000 acres to be built up in the next 20 years. That project alone could assure all of you of work. And you can pull it under what project? Kazi kwa. But you must be able to come together and go out and tell the government, if you're going to develop 5,000 acres, we want in. And we want in now. The Isiolo resort, how large is the project? You're talking of building an international airport, a sewer system, power plants, stormwater systems, colleges, hospitals. That's where your work is going to come from. But if you leave it for the decision makers up there to tell you that that's where the work is, they can't. They can't see it. I do development. And it took me a long time to realize the difference between a quantity surveyor and a clerk of works and a valuer and a project manager. There's no book written. So as a developer, it was the hard way. The reason I know George Amgahia and Engineer Widi was I had a piece of land and I told them I want to develop it. They designed me a very complex project. This was 1/8 of an acre in Embakasi. If I show you the designs, which I still keep in my bedroom, it is a project that should have come up in Kileleshwa. Neither of them looked at the environment where I was doing my construction. They didn't understand the relationship between rental income and cost of construction. rental income and levels of finish. I once asked why we were digging 9.5 feet to extract black cotton and then refill it with hardcore. I then asked, they said it is cheaper to do that than to do a suspended slab. I asked them what's the difference in price. Neither of them could give me the price differential because neither of them had tried to sit down and look at the two. It's only when you're sitting here that you can do some of those tests as assignments. At which point does it become more cost effective to do a suspended slab as opposed to backfill and do a normal slab? I'm sure none of you knows the difference between the two. My passion for the built environment means that I go out and try and understand. But I am doing what you should be doing, which means by me doing it, then I don't need you. So you need to get serious, get out there, and before you leave this place, know where you're going to look for work, if you're going to look for work. The professional firms in this country have serious problems because of continuity. Who knows what the first indigenous architectural firm was? Those in architecture. How many of you know who was the first indigenous Kenyan to qualify as an architect? Who? Mtiso Menezes, yes. How many architects does he employ today? 3. When did Mtiso Menezes graduate? 1960? 1960 something, eh?
67.
67. Between 67 and today, he has only taken on board 3 partners. Three partners in how many years? From 1967 to date. So how long would you have to wait to become a partner at that firm? Okay. So you need to be aware of what's out there. And the reason is the fear that if I take you on as a young professional, soon enough you will be in a position to take away my business and leave. Because the minute you become registered and you can sign a drawing, you're my direct competitor if I'm a professional like you. It is essential that yourselves build into your systems when you go out and put up practices for perpetuity. You've heard of Hamilton, Harrison, and Matthews. Who's Hamilton? Where does Hamilton live? Hamilton died many years ago, but his farm continues. You need to understand that when you go out, do not fear those who will come after you, but learn to work with them, to develop them, and to share the cake. And as you go out and you go to work for a practice, those are the issues you also want to tell the person you work with. Reginald needs to listen to this also, because even him, there are only 3 partners. It's time they got in another 3. Rex, at least they are 2 young partners. And I hope that from him also listening, they will be working towards making sure that they'll not only pick you up when you're interns and then drop you immediately you graduate because of a fear that you'll take over their jobs. Yet they should learn to take you on board and have you learn to grow the business. My background is as an accountant. As an accountant. I worked for a company called Pitmawick. An audit firm is the only place where your boss tells you to give you your CV, he has seen a job opportunity somewhere. Because there are 2 kinds of people when you're going to a professional firm. They are the workers and they are the owners. The owners are the ones who understand that there is more to the practice than just the profession. there is a social element of going out and finding work. At some point, you will do most of the design work, but most of the money will go to another partner. But it's not for you to despair. It's for you to appreciate the fact that with time, you will also be able to train somebody else to do the hard work and you to move out and go and look for the work. So we hope that this dilemma comes to an end today. Thank you.
Good evenings. If the dean was not here, I would have shouted "Comrades Power." But